We're back. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Crack the Codes. This is Adriana Johnson.
And I'm Alexis Wilkinson.
And today's episode, we're going to talk to you guys about communication.
Oh, that's so essential. I don't know, AJ. I guess, how should we start out? Let's give a definition of
I think so. Let's go to what does Webster say?
Okay, so Webster's definition of communication is the imparting or exchanging of information or news. And it's a means of connection between people or places in particular.
Interesting. What does it mean? What?
Right,
what
that's a
does
lot
that
of
mean?
words. That sounds like a lot of words. Well, I know, like, from my experience, I feel like communication, as long as both parties are participating, it works. Because one-sided communication, not so good.
Yeah, and I think it's like more or less an understanding. Like no matter what you do in life, whether you're with somebody in a relationship, whether you're in class, whether you're a part of a sports organization or program, you want to know what's going on, right? And you want to know what it is that you may have to do or what's expected of you. And if nothing's communicated to you by the coaching staff or by your teachers or by your boss at your job, how do you know like where to go in life? What direction to travel down?
Right, and what are you supposed to do and how to do it in an efficient and timely manner? Because, like, for instance, let's use the scenario of school.
Yes.
Right? So you're in school and the teacher tells you, oh, there's a paper that needs to be done. But they failed to communicate when it's due, what, say, format you're supposed to do it in, different aspects like that. Then when you go to hand it in, say, 2 weeks later, and they say to you, oh, well,
late.
That's late. And you're like, well, wait, you never told me that it was due in a specific time frame. You just said this is what needs to be done. You'd be frustrated, right?
Especially if you got a failing grade or a 0 because she said it was late and now, you're past the deadline.
Right. But let's rewind that situation, and if you actually had the correct information, then look, you could have, gotten it in when it was expected.
Yes.
You could have possibly known what the expectation was of that teacher of how it was supposed to look or come out.
Yep.
And then everybody is happy. You're happy because you know what you need to do, and the teacher's happy because they got a product that they wanted. So who's to fault there, though? Because everyone, we were talking about communication, and we know now what it should look like, but
Yeah.
in that scenario,
No one.
who's to fault?
No one.
Well, why do you say no one, though?
Because if you handed it in correctly and on time, and the teacher did give you the paper that said, hey, this report is due on Tuesday of next week during this class, all sorts of communication is put forth, right? All details are there. You know what is expected of you as the student, and the teacher gave you that outline of what your expectations are.
Right.
So in my aspect, or in my sense, it's more or less you now are aware of what's going on and what needs to be done. So it's up to you to get it done. And if you have any questions, it needs to be asked promptly before it's actually due. And let's just say you get your job done and your report done on time, you hand it in. It's up to the teacher to grade you as such, right?
Right. But that's what I'm saying. In the scenario that I just gave, I personally feel like both parties were at fault, because I feel like let's start from the teacher perspective. We know in order to, aid the students, they need some sort of guidance.
Oh,
so
yes.
I feel like there should have automatically been, an outline, a syllabus, or
Oh
something.
yeah, you're going back to the first.
Yeah, I'm
first
going
one.
back. Yeah, to that first scenario.
If we're going to the first scenario, the teacher is absolutely at fault, but also
The
I agree,
student.
the students also at fault because they didn't ask any questions.
Correct.
In terms of, well, Miss Such and Such, how come, or when is this paper due?
Right.
And when do you want it by? Or what are the guidelines to it? But now if we go off of like the second part where you said, hey, the teacher gave you the deadline, or the teacher gave you some sorts of what's the word I'm looking for?
Structure.
Some sorts of structure on terms of what she wants for that paper. Then there's some communication down that line, and if the child understands what is expected, then in that sense, hey, everybody's good. There's no one at fault. But if we're going all the way back to that first one, absolutely, both parties are at fault, and they're not gonna get anywhere. Like, the teacher is not gonna get the best potential out of that student, and the student's not gonna understand how to move forward in life because they didn't step up to that plate and actually ask a question and get the information that's needed that they're unaware of.
Right. So I think the important thing that we need to discuss today is what are the steps or the process of effective communication. How do we end up with the win-win situation every time versus one party or both parties being frustrated with the outcome? So I guess I'll start with the fact that I feel effective communication, I hinted at it before, has to be two ways. So for instance, if you receive, say, an email that says, Miss So-and-so, you need to be at Plaza X by 10 a.m.
On Tuesday.
And if you don't respond, then the other party is going to assume that you got the information.
Yes.
And therefore, the expectation is that you will be at Plaza X at 10 a.m. on Tuesday. So one of the simple things I feel is to, when we were talking about the communication, is manage those expectations. So once you receive that email, a simple acknowledgement of got it, see you Tuesday,
Thank
or
you.
yeah, it would
Works.
suffice. And then also, if Tuesday at 10 a.m. does not work for you, then quickly respond, I can do Tuesday, 10 a.m. doesn't work, how about 11? And simple things like that go a long way.
Yeah. But I think also at the same time, we're in that time and that age where technology is at its greatest, right?
Right.
And whether we shoot emails, we shoot text messages, because clearly that's the way everybody likes to communicate nowadays versus the old school way when you pick up a phone call and you call somebody.
Right.
So, and on top of that, people want a receipt of something to say, I sent this to you, in expecting that response, so that if there was any time where I had to actually go back and check, I have this as proof and evidence to say, but you did respond, or I did send this to you, so you should be aware. But nonetheless, I think my biggest thing when it comes to communications and things of this nature is it's just common courtesy.
Right.
Like, it's respect. And that's why I'm huge on communication, and so is Lex. But if we take this to, let's say, another aspect on us being coaches or trainers or educators, motivators, and such, and I send something to Lex to say, hey Lex, how does this weekend work for you with regards to taking our girls to a tournament? Because she has a family, because she has other obligations and things that she needs to take care of. I can't just assume because we coach together that she's available because this is AAU season. And hey, if she's like, this is the list of weekends I'm available, this weekend right here is good, I'm gonna say, okay, great. Now from that point, we're gonna move on and say, okay, well, we're gonna go to this tournament. But if she's not available, she's like, no, AJ, I can't make this one. Let's try for the next weekend. All right, let's work around that. And then once we clarify our availability, then we go to our kids and say, hey, ladies, are you guys available to play this weekend? And it is expected upon us that it's a simple response to say, yes, coach, I'm available, or no, coach, I'm not. And when you don't receive something back, to me, that's just arrogant, ignorant, and disrespectful. Because it's a simple question that is asked, and if the shoe was on the reverse side, especially as kids, and because you like the millennials are very, very dominant in terms of social media, and they want that text message, or they want that comment on their post, or they want that like.
Right.
If it comes to you and you say, hey, coach, what am I doing wrong in this game, or what can I do to correct my game so it can prosper and get better? You expect us to answer that question, right? You want us to say, hey, this is what you're doing great, and this is what you're doing wrong, and this is how you adjust it so you can make it right.
And the funny thing about it is, not only do they expect the response, they expect it in like 5 minutes or less.
Yes, because we were just told that, like, you know, I like one of our girls just the other day said, when I receive a text message, I have to respond in 1 to 2 minutes. Yes. And it baffled us for a second. We were like, wait a minute. Wait, we have timestamps on when we have to respond to a message? So it's like, if that is how, let's just say, majority or some are handling just text messages per se,
right,
when it's amongst your friends and your peers, how come a simple question from an adult or
right,
your educator or your coach, why can't it be the same exact thing? And even if it's like, let's say you don't know the answer because you have to discuss it with your parents,
right,
I still think the common courtesy is, coach, I'm not sure at the moment. I'm going to talk to my parents and I'll let you know as soon as possible. Because now, as us, it's a gratification to say they are aware and they received what we sent. So now we know that there's communication going on amongst them and their parents to find out if they have that availability.
Yep, absolutely. And I think, like, I don't know, it's one of those things also that I don't know about you guys out there, but for me, I just like AJ said, like, even if you just said to me, I'm not really sure right now, it gives me a peace of mind that you received my message, because I know it only happens to me in this world, but I've had instances where I've sent communication. I can only assume that the person received the communication because I never received any sort of error message or something saying otherwise. And then when the time comes that whatever was supposed to happen is supposed to culminate, somebody says, oh, I never got that message. So I think, though, if you set a precedence of being an effective communicator, then when someone doesn't hear from you, then they know, okay, something might be up. Maybe they didn't even get the message. Because I know, like, friends of mine, they say that, like, if you text me and you don't hear from me within 24 hours, chances are I didn't get it. Something went wrong. So at least they know, I didn't hear from Lex. Let me reach out to her again just to make sure that she got it. Double check that she got it. But when you set a precedence for yourself that you're kind of what I would call a non-communicator, people get frustrated, and I'm not going to stalk someone's life to try to assure. Just like AJ said, I'm a busy person myself, so you know, I can't be everyone's, you know, like, personal secretary and follow up constantly.
You shouldn't have to. You shouldn't have to stalk somebody. You shouldn't have to beg somebody for a response.
Right.
For an initial response. When at the end of the day, whatever it is that I'm sending to you or vice versa, it has some sort of importance with y'all lives. Yes. So why not respond to it? Like, I get it. Like, I get it in a business aspect. it needs to be done, right? And when you're a part of something, it needs to be done. I get it if you're maybe just broke up with your boyfriend or your girlfriend and you don't want to have any communication with them, and that's to be said.
Yeah, that's a different.
Then yeah, like that's expected for the communication to lack and not be there. But when you're actually dealing with something in a aspect of professional sense, and I don't mean just professional in a way of your job,
right?
But again, like when you're dealing with sports and you're dealing with school and you're dealing with, basic, let's just say mom clubs or whatever it is,
if it involves you and other people, like, it's a professional sense.
Exactly. You need to communicate and acknowledge somebody. Like, because I think if the shoe was on the other foot, you expect to be acknowledged. So why, when it's in reverse,
can't you return the same favor?
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also, like, it's just funny, like, it was something that you just said, AJ, and it just made me have a flash. But it's a sensitive subject for me. That's why I feel like it's so important to talk about, because I think, like, some people, like, when, if you say it and it's like, communication is important, and it's just like, yeah, we all know that, yawn. But I don't think we all sit back and realize how it impacts the other person,
or how it impacts a situation.
Yes.
Or what, because again, going back to, let's just say, us coaching, and we contact our whole team and say, ladies, are you available? And let's say we get, out of 12 girls, we get 4 that say yes, coach, and 2 that say no, coach, right? We still have 6 more to figure out, are you available or not? But let's just say, I don't know, one of the 4 that spoke up to say that, yeah, we are available, then says, oh yeah, this one and this one is available as well. So now it's all an assumption because we haven't got that clarification from those other 2. So now we're like, okay, maybe we have enough girls for this tournament. Now tournament time comes, and all of a sudden, we don't have enough girls to play. But guess what? We just spent $400 to go to the tournament. So now, as a team, we're losing money, and we're not able to benefit off of the tournament itself because we don't have everybody. And it was maybe expected that we were going to have majority, so this is why we decided to go. But the lack thereof of the communication has now haunted us. And it's hurting us as a whole, as a team. And it's making us as coaches look bad because we don't know that communication on that opposite end wasn't, brought back to us in a way where we can understand what it is that you're going through. Like, I think the biggest thing with communication is, like I said in the beginning, was it's an understanding. Like, you want to acknowledge or again, understand where someone else is coming from or what somebody else means, because communication can be mistaken in various ways, especially now with technology and you reading something. You don't know what someone else's tone is. You're only expecting it off of the words that is sent back to you, if there is communication.
Right. Very true.
And I just think that it's all about how we type things, how we say things, but most importantly, actually replying.
Yes, absolutely. Because I don't know. I just like you said, I feel like, I know you mentioned, AJ, that it's a bit of possibly an arrogance thing. Like, why should I have to do it? And I think another thing that comes into play, which is totally unfair, but I think, and people may not realize the impact of it, is, well, I'm buying my time to weigh my options. It's kind of like, well, I'm not going to respond to this just yet because I'm not sure what else,
there is out there for me.
There is out there for me. But, newsflash, life doesn't work that way. So you have to.
I don't know. Like,
you have to make a decision.
And I think that's like a huge thing too. because you don't know what the opportunity you have that's in front of you versus what you think another opportunity may be, and
Right.
and meaning, like, you may think that second opportunity is going to be better for you, but you actually have an opportunity right in front of you. But the fact that you keep prolonging the opportunity that's right in front of you might actually be a hindrance to you, because people aren't going to wait around for you all day and night.
Right.
And then that second opportunity might not even come.
Right.
So, like, you're shooting yourself in the foot off of something that's like
The
very
possibility
basic, the
of
possibility,
something.
exactly.
Yeah.
Or at least just maybe say it up front, like, hey, we're thinking about going in this direction
Right.
to do this job versus coming to you to do the job. But if that opportunity, like, if that doesn't, come about, let's say within a week, then we'll definitely use you.
Right.
At least that way you're acknowledging what the job can potentially be, or the work can potentially get done, versus you leaving that first opportunity
Just out there
hanging
in
to
space.
dry.
Yeah.
Hanging to dry. Like, I don't, it's crazy. It is so crazy. And then on top of all of this, going in like a sports aspect, we stress to our girls on a continuous basis that communication is key. And you will not ever be an effective and efficient team if you don't communicate amongst each other on and off the court, field,
Right.
pool, whatever it is, because your teammate might not know where you are, or where, let's just say in a basketball sense, I may be playing a 2-3 defense and I may be at the top, and my back line may see a cutter coming behind me, but I clearly don't have eyes behind my head.
Right.
So if they were to communicate with me to say, hey, AJ, there's a cutter coming behind you on the left, I now know there's a girl in my area, I have to bump her, or I have to do something so that she can feel my presence, versus they not saying anything and them witnessing and watching the girl go behind me and cut from behind me, and then the ball is thrown over my head and she gets the ball and she goes to the rack
Scores.
and
Right.
scores. Now whose fault is that?
Right.
Now that could be a winning basket that could have been solely
It could have been eliminated.
it could have been eliminated.
Yeah.
Right. If you would have said 1 to 3 words.
Exactly. Watch
Or
your back.
Watch your back. AJ, watch your back. Or like, if I got the rebound and let's just say there's like 2 girls, on top of me trying to get a jump ball, and I'm like trying to get out of it, but I don't know where any of my point guards are for the outlet, because they either ran away or they're just standing there watching,
looking at me.
watching me suffer from getting a rebound. And I think those teams that are out there that communicate amongst each other, both on the offensive end and defensive end, are the most efficient and effective teams out there, that will be more of a detriment to you if you were just, let's say, an athletic team and thought that you're gonna just run away with
somebody.
run away with a W solely off of your athleticism. And let's just say you guys are all hard-headed and you guys don't communicate. Well, guess what? That hard-nosed team who may not be as athletic as you or fundamentally sound as you can
Still
beat you solely off of communication. Because guess what? When you communicate, you're all on the same page.
Right. And that's key.
That's key. I can't read a book and talk about it if you're on chapter 3, I'm on chapter 1, and someone else is on chapter 5. That's just like Netflix and chill, right? We can't talk about what's going on in a certain show.
Right.
If you're on episode 10 and this one finished it and I'm on episode 1.
Right.
I don't want to know what you saw because I'm not there yet.
Exactly.
But if we
And
all
it's
are
not
on the
as
same,
much. It's not going to be as interesting to
No.
you because you're like, I don't even know what you're talking about because I don't even know what characters you're talking about because they're not even introduced yet for me. So I agree with you, AJ. It's important that everybody learn to be on the same page, and it's, but it kind of leads into another point that with communication you have to be open to listen too. Because a lot of people think that communication is me talking and telling you something, but I'm not open to listen to the receipt of what you're telling me. So ding ding ding, like, what are we on point number 3 at this point? So communication, you have to learn to be a good listener. It's not about you just talking and telling people
what to do,
right,
how to do it,
and what you want them to know. You have to be receptive to the fact that people
Perception is key. It's key, man. It is key.
Oh, say it again. Say it again.
Like, it's a big ordeal in life. Like, so no matter who is out there listening, parents, players, educators, motivators, everybody out there, communication can be very, very, very important in your life. No matter what it is you're going through, no matter what it is that you need to do or what it is that you have to do. In all aspects, in a family aspect, I think communication is key. Like, I talk to my parents every single day, and I know some people who are out there that are like, man, I talk to my parents once a week or maybe like once a month, and I'm like, wait a minute, why? Those are your only parents. You only get a set. Right. That's it, no matter who they are. And I need to know what's going on in my parents' life. I need to make sure they're alive and they're well. And if not, I need to be that child to come and help and do whatever it is that I need to do to make sure that they're okay. And it's the same exact thing. I mean, that's just how I was raised, and I know everybody, is raised differently, comes from a different background, but I still don't think that's of any excuse to say that you can't communicate. I'm not telling, I don't think we're sitting here telling you that you have to express your feelings and break down to people. I mean, if that's something that you foresee and that's something that you maybe need to get off your chest, absolutely. But I think just communicating in a whole,
right, letting people know where you're at with something, whether
what
it's
you're doing.
Yeah, just because I don't know, like, just like I say, I have 4 kids, and I say to them all the time, like, what you may say to me might not be what I want to hear, and vice versa, but there's reasoning behind it. But if we leave it open where we both feel comfortable in expressing how we feel, then you at least allow for there to possibly be middle ground
and an understanding.
And
right? Like you said, being receptive to what the other party has to say,
right? Because
we're never always going to be satisfied or like what is always told to us,
right?
Whether it's a question, whether it's a statement, whatever it is, we may not always be a fan of that on the other side. But if there needs to be an understanding in regards to something, you have to be receptive to listen.
No doubt. With everything, like there's not one situation I can think of that doesn't apply to.
Exactly.
Not one.
Exactly.
If you guys can think of one, let me know.
Yo, but please hit us up. Let us know if you know.
I can't think of one.
If you guys don't think communication is key, please shoot us an email at icrackskills@gmail.com. Shoot us a message on our website,
Instagram, anything,
at icrackskills.org, and talk to us, because we really think if there's anything that you could get out of this podcast episode is simply in your life, no matter what it is that you're doing, schoolwork, homework, practice, games, parent stuff at home, family, friends, acquaintances, communicate. Communicate and understand. And then if you guys don't maybe appreciate what was said or like what was said, at least there was that understanding and knowledge amongst it to say, okay, we could go our separate ways.
Right.
Or
agree
hey,
to disagree.
Yeah. Or hey, I'll be at the park at 10 o'clock so we can work out. Or Miss Johnson, I will get you that paper even though I know it's late because of A, B, C, and D. But I'm going to get it to you on Tuesday during class. And I know there's going to be points taken off, but at least Miss Johnson knows that, you know, you've been sick with the flu for the past 3 weeks and you couldn't function.
Right.
Because now she has that understanding. Now she's being receptive to your illness and now she feels for you. So now she's giving you that second chance. But if you never said anything to Miss Johnson,
and
how would she know?
In.
And don't hand anything in.
Or hand it in late.
Yeah, or just hand it in late. How do you expect the outcome to be
positive?
Positive, or how do you expect her to have any sympathy for you if you never told her your situation?
Absolutely.
Because they're gonna understand it.
But one thing that's key in that situation, AJ, is the fact that so once you commit to something, then be a man or woman of your word.
Yes.
So if you tell Miss Johnson, listen, I had this problem, I had this delay, whatever, is it okay that I hand it in Tuesday? Make sure it's there on Tuesday. No excuses, no, you know, whatever.
Yes.
Because now you have established yourself as a trustworthy person.
Yes.
Which is another key part of communication. It's trustworthiness. Like it's one thing to have somebody just
tell
as
you
AJ and I say yap. Like if you could just yap at me all stop chatting. You know, if words are just coming out of your mouth, but like nothing that you say I can, you know, validate, then that's still a problem. So make sure that whatever you're saying and communicating is truthful, and that you make it a point to, I don't know, like I'm trying to think of the best way to say
you
it.
said it. Be a man or a woman of your word. Be true to who you are. Be true to, like, in other words, don't say something and not be about it. Right.
Or so, don't say something and do the complete opposite.
Exactly. And in regards to all of that, understand the words that are coming out of your mouth in terms of who you're saying it to. So if I tell Alexis, Lex, we're gonna have practices Tuesdays and Thursdays from this time to this time, and she says okay, and I don't ever show up on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 6 to 9, how do I look as a person? How do I look if she's depending on me to help her out?
Right.
And that's just that. I think that's a very low-based situation that I'm kind of giving you. But we can go very in depth, and let's just say, I don't know.
Well, there's lots.
There's lots.
There's lots of situations, but it's just like you said, if I don't know, like if you set an expectation and you tell somebody that you're going to do something, and they're expecting that you're going to do what you say you're going to do, and you don't do it, then, as my grandmother would have said, you're gonna start burning bridges.
Yes.
Because then, you know, depending on how patient of a person I am or how flexible a person I am, okay, the first time you do it to me or leave me hanging, I might be like, you know what? it's okay. I still like AJ. I'm gonna give her another chance. You do it to me again, I'm gonna say, you know what? If I have this opportunity or whatever, I might be on to the next person, because I'm, in my mind, I have now equated or made up the fact that AJ is not a reliable person. Yep. Right? So whether she meant to do it or not, something could have come up each and every time that she told me that she was going to be there from 6 to 9. It could have been a valid
never
reason.
Told her.
Right. So now all am I left to assume is
I'm unreliable.
Right. I can't trust what she says.
Can't trust me. In other words, two tears in a bucket when it comes to AJ.
Exactly. Okay. I'm on to the next. I'm not going to sit there and continually frustrate myself with the situation, and especially if it's something, that might not be that much of an issue, but like if I'm meeting her somewhere, I've burned my gas, I've wasted my time waiting, whatever.
I could be doing something else.
I could have been doing something else.
That's better for me in my life.
Right. So,
but I could be, and another thing I think a lot of people don't realize is in a certain sense, some people are sacrificing their time and what they need to do for themselves or their families or things of that nature, in terms of let's say if I'm supposed to be meeting Alexis so that we can handle a meeting and things of that nature, it would technically be wrong for me if I don't show up. And let's just say she's sacrificing her time because her daughter had a spring concert that she's now missing. But I don't know that, because technically it's not really my business to know unless she shared that with me. But let's say she did share that with me and I still don't come. How do I look as a person? Because she has now sacrificed her daughter not seeing her mom at her concert, and just got screwed over by me because I didn't show up. Right. And especially, let's say, but us being business partners, that could have been a very important meeting to get our business continuously going. And now I just ruined that for not only myself, but us as partners. So now is AJ even a trustworthy partner for us to even continue the business in which we're trying to continue? Right. There's many factors when it comes to non-communication.
But rewind, just like we said, an effective way. Now, if AJ had at least communicated to me, you know what, something came up, my car is not acting right, I don't really trust coming down this road with it, I'm not going to be able to meet you from 6 to 9. May I still be disappointed because I was looking forward to the meeting at 6 to 9? Yeah, possibly. But at the same time, I can now respect the situation. I haven't lost anything because now possibly there's enough time for me to adjust my plans. Yes. Or at the very least, it kept me from burning my gas to go somewhere that I didn't, need to be. Yes. And now the outcome is different. I'm not feeling the same sort of way.
Yeah. And also, let's just say if this meeting was with somebody, and maybe by me saying, hey, Lex, my car just did A, B, C, and D. I don't know about driving from Jersey to PA, but hey, I'm going to call you on the phone so I can still be there and hear what's going on. I may not be physically there, right, but I'm still there. I'm still committed. Something just got in the way. That's, in a sense, to me, persevering through the adversity that kind of hits you right dead front. You have to, like Alexa said, you have to be able to adjust, right? So if I can adjust in that situation, Alexa still now has respect for me. The person in which we're meeting still has respect for us as partners, as a company, right, because we made an adjustment to still be able to withhold this
commitment to them.
Commitment. Exactly.
I don't know. I feel like we're preaching, but yeah, it's just so important. So I hope that like you guys are hearing like what we're saying, because I know like if you've ever been on I guess the other side of a lack of communication. You probably hear us loud and clear and probably like, amen, yes, tell them.
Preach to the choir.
But if you're someone and you're listening to this and you're saying, oh, well, like I kind of have done that and I wonder what they think or blah, blah, blah. It's never too late to try to correct the situation. Yes. So if you feel like, oh, that's kind of me that they were talking about in certain aspects where I don't send back emails or I don't respond to texts, and if I can't be there, I can't be there. I haven't, reached out to tell somebody that, I'm not gonna be able to do it, or at least in a timely manner. Because let's be real here, people. If you're supposed to meet somebody at 7 p.m., 7:10 is not the time to tell them.
But neither is 6 o'clock.
Yeah, and 6 o'clock either. Because, like, unless it's a complete emergency that
came up.
Right, that it's
then that's
totally out of your control. Yeah. But if you kind of knew that at 7 a.m. you're not feeling well and you really don't feel like doing this today, or at 10 a.m. that
I think a 3-hour prior gap is
that's decent.
It's decent, and it shows that common courtesy we always talked about since the beginning of this.
Right. Or 24 hours if you can.
I mean, absolutely. Yes.
Right. I mean,
if you don't, once you know,
right,
I think it should be communicated
immediately. Yeah.
Immediately, versus you like weighing on it and expecting that, like, oh, I know we have practice on Thursday of this week, right? Mm-hmm. And I got wedding rehearsal on Thursday this week. But I knew I had wedding rehearsal Thursday of this week 4 months ago. 4 months ago, I should have said it. Guess what? 2 weeks before, I'm going to remind you.
Right.
Another week, I'm going to remind you. And the day of, I will remind you.
Right.
Versus the day of, 2 hours before, and, oh, by the way, I'm not going to be at practice today because I have a wedding rehearsal.
Yeah. Like,
no, like that.
Great.
To me, I think that's just being ignorant. I think it's ignorance. Like, there's nothing else to it.
Yeah, I don't know if I can sugarcoat that one. I kind of agree with you. Like,
you can't. Like,
I kind of agree with you. I can't help you, folks. Like, if you're in that boat and you do that, there's.
And I think, like, and some of you guys may disagree when I say it's being ignorant, but I don't know. I think, like, the whole concept behind it is you knew.
Correct.
So why not allow somebody else to know? Because you can potentially be that 8th girl who can't come to practice. So why am I going to have practice?
Right.
If majority of my girls aren't going to be there. But by you telling me last minute, I now can't adjust because some girls may be coming from far and are already on their way to practice.
Absolutely. But dare I tell you why they do it?
Please.
Should I let you in on the secret?
Please.
Because we don't want people to actually adjust or give us a different option. Like, for instance, if I tell you last minute, I know that there's probably no chance that you can adjust it. And then you'll just be like, well, okay, it is what it is. You're not going to be there. However, if I tell you in advance, and I really don't want to do it anyway, then, you might say, well, that's fine. I can work around that. Come Wednesday instead of Thursday. You understand what I'm saying? So I feel like sometimes that people play that.
Well, then in that sense, why do what you're doing?
Agreed. But not everybody sees it that way, unfortunately.
If you don't want to do something, why do it?
Sounds pretty cut and dry.
Because now we can now go off on a completely different topic.
Mm.
And let's just say we stick on the basketball aspect in this, and let's say we continuously talk about, let's say, AAU.
Mm.
AAU is the Amateur Athletic Union, right?
Right.
And it is to expose yourself to help you get to that next dominant level, and that is to play whatever sport it is at the collegiate level, right?
Right.
So if you don't foresee yourself playing at the collegiate level, why are you playing AAU? Because you think it's a social vacation? Because you get to travel, you get to go to different places every weekend, you get to be with your friends? You could do that on your own time. Why do that on a coach's time who is sacrificing their time for you and your future? But if you don't foresee your future in that sport, that you have now taken up a spot that
For
could be
someone
with
else,
somebody else who loves the game and may not be
would love that opportunity.
that opportunity. It may not be as talented as you, because you might just have that raw talent,
Right.
but actually wants to try and wants to get there and has that motivation, that self-motivation. But now you have somebody on your team who is like, heck with practice, because I don't really want to do this anyway. I just want to travel. I want to go. I want to stay in hotels and fool around and be happy and be with my friends. But I think that communication also hurts. It hurts the team. It hurts the players on the team. It hurts us as coaches. It hurts you, because it doesn't make you look any better.
No, not at all.
Because I think it kind of goes back to that same situation. Like, you just don't care. And by you not caring is ignorant. I mean, I can't get it. I can't sugarcoat this situation, because again, the importance of communication is so vital to anything in life.
Absolutely. And then, you know what? It just, I don't know. You just touched on like a whole nother thing, and that probably could be a podcast unto itself. But since we're talking about student athletes in that realm, I think the other thing that kind of gets my goat is, just like you said, the whole point of AAU basketball is for exposure.
Yes.
Right? So out of exposure, your hope is to get interest from colleges. I mean, that's basically what that's basically what you want, right?
Oh man!
But you can't not communicate with those that are reaching out to you, because you don't think that that's what you want to be bothered with.
like nonetheless, right? I could touch solely on my recruiting aspect. I got recruited heavily Division II. I got recruited by some Division I, and D3. I got recruited by all levels. And as a student athlete back in high school, my main goal was, I want to play Division I because I want to play against the best of the best every night. Whether I'm just as good as them, or I'm better than them, or they're better than me. I want to play against the best of the best. That was my mentality, right? But when I was getting recruited, I didn't know where I was going just yet. But I never told a coach no until I made my final decision. And once I made my final decision and signed my letter of intent, I then personally reached out to the other schools to say, hey coach, I truly appreciate your interest in me, but I have decided to go elsewhere. And I hope that we can continue to keep this sort of relationship that we built over this recruiting process, because I highly respect you as a coach. Versus if I were to tell the coach, oh, you're a D2 school. Oh, you're small. I don't like your school. You don't play in a good conference. And just write them off. But what I failed to realize is that I don't know where this coach came from. I don't know who this coach knows. I don't know what knowledge this coach has, right?
or where they might end up.
Or
Like
exactly.
that's
or
the other.
Because the basketball industry and world is so revolving. Like, it evolves left and right, and people move so much. So let's just say I decide to put a sour taste in a coach's mouth because of how I communicated to them, or how I lacked thereof to communicate to them. That sour taste in one coach's mouth can be a sour taste in 20 other, because of their network, because of who they know, because of in other words, coaches talk, right? And if let's just say I'm a college coach and Lex is a college coach, and we're very good friends, and we're just sitting down, let's say having drinks one day, and Lex is like, yo, I need a point guard. AJ, did you find anybody? Or, AJ, I saw you out here recruiting in PA. I heard about this girl, Jessica, right? Jessica Jones, I don't know. And AJ's gonna be like, oh yeah, I was recruiting her. But you know what, Lex? Don't waste your time.
Exactly.
Don't waste your time on her because of A, B, C, and D. She's rude, she's ignorant, she don't know how to communicate, she can't respond appropriately. This is what coaches talk about. It's not about what you do on the hardwood. It's about how you are as a full package athlete. And if you can't do one sole concept of communicating, and communicating effective,
right,
efficient, and appropriate and respectful, guess what? I don't care how good your talent is. People aren't gonna want you. And I that is huge.
Yes.
That's huge.
Absolutely.
Man, communication is key. Like, it is key.
I mean, we can't say we
can't stress it enough.
Yeah, we can't stress it enough. I mean, we're not gonna what's this statement? We're not gonna beat a dead horse, but it's that important.
It's that
guys.
important. Yeah.
It's that important, and it can make the difference of you having a happy, productive, experience in this world, or being miserable and I don't know, cranky. It's so important. It's so important. So what we want to leave you with is, listen, everybody, take a chance and introspect on how you are as a communicator, right? Go back and evaluate yourself,
Yes.
and say, I do this well. I could use a little help in this area. And if you're lacking in something and you don't know the right way to do it, there's so many avenues. I mean, the easiest thing is to probably ask somebody. But I mean, we've talked about this technology world. Google it. Like, there's things out there. How to be an effective communicator. What should I do if I need to communicate? There's details out there. If you say very specific, how do I communicate with a professor? How do I communicate with, my boss?
What
how do I
questions to
communicate
ask?
with a coworker? Because a lot of those, what you have to understand is, those are handled slightly differently.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So don't be afraid to say, I don't know, or I lack in a certain aspect. Because I think that's kind of where
don't be afraid to ask either.
Right, absolutely. Because there's people out there that can help and are willing to help. And we don't come out of the womb knowing how to do everything. Like, it just doesn't happen. So we all learn it in some aspect. And just like I said, the reason why we continually do podcasts is because if we can touch somebody and help them overcome something prior to having a bad experience through that same thing, then
we're doing something right.
Yeah, we feel like we're doing something right. And we want to help as many people as possible. That's what it's all about. That's what it is all
Trying
about.
to motivate you guys out there and be that inspiration.
Yes. And I know, like, some of us, you know, you might not be comfortable with, you know, talking to your parent or you know, whatever. We're trying to let you know that there's things out there. This is what you should be doing. So there's no more excuses for anybody that listened to this that nobody ever told me, because now you've been told.
Yeah.
Communication is key. And if you don't know how to do it, you better ask
Hit us
somebody.
up. We can help you.
Yes.
Hit us up.
We're always willing to do it.
We're always open. We're always here. We're here to help as best as we can.
And if we don't know it, just like I said,
we'll find out.
We'll find out for you. Absolutely.
1000%. 1000%. So, with that being said, guys, that's enough of episode 7. Again, can't say it enough. Communication is key.
Key. Better recognize.
All right, y'all have a good one. We'll talk to y'all again.
See you soon.